Hello everyone, this is Ether Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. So this week, as expected, we aren't making tier 38. I was literally using an offense team that was never going to make it. Even if I had a completely perfect season, I still wouldn't have made it, so that was expected. Probably gonna get not top 6k, depends on how many people rush, but we got a mishmash of interesting replays this week. Don't know what to say. Our lift prot protection, lift loss protection. I was like, that's redundant. Timing kind of got screwed over, so a lot of matches happened during our lift loss protection, which usually doesn't happen a lot, but it ended up happening. And here they decided to go end turn. Pretty typical strategy against my defenses. We'll hit end turn and see what happens. Here Corrin's not able to double, so her negating thing doesn't actually do anything. She just does a pretty solid amount of damage. Because this Lucas here is running Ether, which is quite slow, and that has problems in of itself. And as we'll see this season, Legendary Julia was a monster. I don't know if it's because people underestimate her or they just were too spooked about the other units. A lot of people were spooked about Legendary Corrin and Elowood. Elowood probably for obvious reasons, but Legendary Corrin can be kind of annoying with negating Fang. She actually can live a shot from a lot of Regans and counter back for a one-shot with negating Fang, so it is kind of non-trivial for people to deal with her if they're not like running Naga or whatnot. At this point it's just Duma against the world, so it's not like he's gonna be able to do much. They just keep on attacking him here, and that prevents his armored boots from proccing, so it's just solid play, and they can just buy their time to go grab the ether structures. But they sure do take their time, but you know, you can use as many turns as you want as long as you don't time yourself out. So just solid recovery after losing that unit. They don't have Plumeria, so like me, so they still end up losing lift on offense, but it's better than nothing. And here we have double Plumeria, and this is the one time where someone did get rewarded for having their catapult in column 6. This is intentional by design. I didn't have to do this, but I decided to. And so the idea is if you have catapult, you can just break the ether structure and it's a free bait on Legendary Julia. Assuming, of course, all your carry unit can escape can deal with Elowood's reach and whatnot. Like it's just there for the memes. There's no real reason. And so they importantly move all their units completely out of Elowood's range, which is important here because if Elowood was always going to go this way, but if he were to go this way, he would be in range. So you can attack technically up to this, but if you understand how the AI works, then that probably wasn't happening. So they're able to pick up the one-shots barely with Regan, and they have double Plumeria, so it should be free real estate. And they have Brave Edelgard here at plus 10, so pretty straightforward. And with Layla, they're able to pick up the kill on Corrin because no counterattack out of 10. Brave Edelgard unable to kill Mirabilis, 10 out of 10. Granted, she is on the defense tile and stuff, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. They hit the heavy trap here, but at this point, the match is over. Pretty convincing win there, and we just get more strange stuff happening. This is an example of why maybe it's not a necessarily great idea to run dual Alphons against Legendary Julia. I mean, Legendary Julia is just trolling with Mirror Impact. It's just a solid skill. Except, of course, a lot of units would prefer sturdy impact. There's lots of enemies attack defense. But, you know, it's better than nothing because of what impact does. So they take some time to set up here, which is always good. A lot of people used to just like rush in turn 1 or something, which is not really the most optimal thing to do. He decides to go in for the kill on Duma. Oh yeah, that's another thing. People are scared of Duma, and for good reason. Like, I decided to put Duma in the back line instead of the front line because if you don't snipe him off, he can do a pretty decent amount of damage. He can be pretty scary. So here it's dual Alphonse against Legendary Julia, and I think we've already watched this replay, but yeah, not too great on his bulk, and Legendary Julia has a light and dark, so absolute nightmare for dual Alphonse. Pretty much the worst thing he could possibly match up against in general. Because even if he's running quick riposte, he's too slow to double. So he's basically never picking up the 1-round KO. And Open the Future scales with how much damage you do, so if you don't do any damage, well, you're not going to heal anything. And the scaling is 25% as well, so it's even worse than Noontime. Of course, for perfectly balanced reasons. If it was like 30% or ridiculously like 50% healing, that would be ridiculously strong. That way he would just be able to tank a lot of big hits and heal back a lot, but that's not what Open the Future is. So derp. I'm gonna pause for a second. I gotta blow my nose. Rip. Alright, we're back, and well, this is an interesting Crone. You're running Vantage because, well, if your base weapon doesn't work, at least maybe you can pull off Vantage. And so they're going to activate their duo skill here and send Crone in, probably to take out the obvious threats, and Legendary or Fallen Julia can take out Corrin. Also inflicts panic, but doesn't matter too much here. And they decide to take out Julia there because she's going to hit pretty hard. And Fallen Julia is unfortunately not adjacent, but either way, we were able to pick up 1 kill there. Pretty sure they could have won this without dropping any units, but they have Plumeria on their team. I know it is Vault of Heaven, so they still technically lose lift, but it's better than losing 30 lift. They only lose 10. So that's something. I guess 20 if it's a double match, but same difference. And I mean, this should be expected. It's just a complete steamroll because no one really has that much bulk on this team. Maybe Julia on the res side's pretty okay. Corrin has okay one-shot bulk, but as we'll see later on, not really. Their HP is only 56, which is pretty bad. That's just 2021 and 2020 in a nutshell. Units have sacking HP to have more stats elsewhere. So for units that are heavily reliant on damage reduction, like Legendary Corrin, which is like the main thing that makes her stand out versus a lot of dragons, is she has Negating Fang. So here, technically speaking, I don't even think they need their duo skills to beat my team. That's the thing, like, you really only need the duo skills against my defenses if you want to, like, sweep in 1 turn, or close to 1 turn. Because, like, realistically, you can just murder the relevant units and leave, or do some clever blockading or things. There's some shenanigans people can pull off, but it's like, yeah, it's not really not fully decided on what I want to do to check duo heroes, because like duo Alphonse, as we'll see in some of these later replays, yeah, he doesn't really fare well against Legendary Julia. She has a bit of res, you know, just a bit. Here we have Vantage. So This works well as long as you, well, don't die. And he's got miracles, so if you can charge it up, that's cool. They decided to be hyper aggressive and go in on Legendary Corrin here. For the sole reason that, well, she would have got a negating Fang up turn 1, but I feel like that wasn't the right play. Maybe they couldn't kill her in one shot. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure if this was necessarily the best play. Yeah, in a later match, I'll do a quick calc to just show how Legendary Corrin fares against folks. But Soph unable to one-shot Elowood, so allows us to proc Wings of Mercy, and it's free real estate for us. But again, at this point, we got nothing, so it's just a clean sweep for them. Not much to say here. And should be GG, but Olivia manages to not get doubled by Soph, 10 out of 10. So that's great. And I guess I don't really know what I should be doing with my dancers, because they really are just mostly there for dancing. So that shouldn't be too mind-boggling to figure out. But here it's just a straightforward win, because any sort of advantage against my team, I believe that just auto doubles pretty much has an okay time, because again, none of my units' HP stats are even at 60. So if you have like anyone buffing you, like you don't even need Duo Micaiah here, you could just have a pretty strong attack buff bot.
You're very dapper, South.
You're just gonna have an easy time picking up 2 shots. Picking up 1 shot's definitely on the more difficult side, especially if you're up against Legendary Corrin. Definitely you'll need like a special or just a massive attack stat, which is all feasible stuff that can be done. So Mirabilis attacks first, because why the heck not? And yeah, you can see there that they have enough attack to where they can one-shot through negating Fang. But that's basically a byproduct of Ultina having a pretty decent attack stat at base. And I believe Plumeria, and of course there's Duo Micaiah, who's driving a lot of the damage out, because she debuffs defense and res, which helps, of course, auto doubling a lot, or just double attacks a lot in general. And of course, dominance exists as well for even more damage, which is why this is a pretty strong combo when it works. It's not completely broken against every defense, because of course dominance may not work against some particular units that say neutralize penalties or whatnot. But in general, I see people just stack attack on Winter Ultina, and they don't even need to use her duo skill or harmonized skill, because, well, she's got enough decent bulk and attack to hold her own. Doesn't need dominance per se. It's mostly just a game of attack, and attack res unity is definitely useful for dealing with attack and res debuffs. And of course, if it's like Dark Shrine going onto Ultina with attack res unity and twin blades, you're going to be dishing out quite a bit of damage. So here it's a +10 Kronia, who's going to go in and break the healing tower. And they have Sarah here pick up the kill on Legendary Corrin. So, you know, she's looking all right. What is this, 68 attack, and then 71. And then Sarah here, pretty bulky, but of course Legendary Julia exists, so this is a non-trivial matchup. But the real meme here is, well, Duma. Should have gotten more chip damage on Duma. They really could have spent some more time to set up. If they brought a unit, if they have a unit with Smite or something, this would have been much easier to set up. Because they have Disarm Trap on Kronia, but Kronia is unable to one-shot, so Duma gets to meme. And then we just steamroll from here, because that's what happens. a lot of units tend to be close to each other because of support or whatnot, so they're just able to convert that way. But it's now time for Legendary Julia to go on her rampage, and there's nothing they can do here at this point because it's just duo Hector against the world, and I don't know about you, but I don't think he's going to survive a shot from an Iceberg Legendary Julia. So that's a no. And well, here's just an example of what I was just talking about, but this is just base Altina. Of course, it's a plus 10 Altina, which is definitely helpful because 4 more to all of her stats is important. People think, you know, like speed's useless on her, but there are some pretty slow units people put on defense, and when Altina gets doubled by them too, it's pretty bad, because usually that means she'll probably get 1 round KO'd. So definitely in their best interest to do those, to pull off these shenanigans. And with Brave Lucina and stacking attack, they also have attack defense Rhine, so she takes less damage, also does more damage. Just auto doubling in general benefits a lot from, well, twice as much technically. I guess around twice as much from any buff to attack and debuff to the enemy's defense. So this Altina, how much does she have? 76? 88? I want to say 88 attack, which is pretty solid. That's definitely getting around to the point where you 2-shot non-hyper tanky blues. Like if you ever try and deal with Brave Hector, she actually probably can deal with some of them, but not the heavily mythic buffed ones because of HP. HP out of 10, am I right? It's like if we pause this again real quick to look at her res, that's 51 res, I believe. So Twin Blades hits for 20 damage. It's a pretty solid booster to help deal with the weapon triangle disadvantage when you're up against blues. That's how, for example, she can beat Legendary Crom in 1 round. I've pulled some funny antics like that myself in Arena Assaults. Because if you stack enough attacks so she does some base damage, when you're in vantage range, his bow isn't procced, so it's just free real estate to win. Pick up the 2-shot, because Twin Blades does a lot of bonus damage to help offset the fact that your attack is reduced by 20% from weapon triangle. But again, if I were actually quote-unquote trying on my defense, I wouldn't even have the bolt trap active to give free vantage, but I literally have this stuff up just to see what people do with it. And you can see here they use dual Micaiah for extra whatchamacallit, extra damage. I don't know why that was so hard to think about, but you can see like Altina is pretty much just one-shotting these units, except of course Legendary Corrin because of that. But in practice, you don't even need to have dominance to 2-shot my team if you have Brave Lucina for Twin Blades every combat. Pretty much, you just gotta be a bit careful of your calcs, of course. Dominance just makes it much easier to kill because the dealt damage from dominance applies to each hit. So if the enemy is just like completely debuffed, -7 to all stats, that's plus 28 damage per attack, which is a lot, considering most units don't even have 56 HP in the first place. So you can see why dominance with a you can see why it's pretty straightforward for a unit that automatically attacks twice, why they're pretty darn strong with dominance. But at the end of the day, you still need to have an attack stat, because if your only damage is from dominance, there are units that have more than, say, 56 HP, so you might want to consider having an attack stat, which tends to be relatively trivial if you bother to buff them up. And here they decide to surrender. Pretty sure because they can't one-shot Corrin here, because what is this is 58, 64. And then with is it just 64? I feel like it should be more. I guess it is only 64. And with the effective damage, that is, what is that, 96? And Corrin has, I think it's just Primordial Breath, so 36. Yeah, 36 defense, I want to say, because that's a low speed defense. And then, so overall, the base damage is, I believe, 75 with her special. So after negating Fang, she only does 53 damage. A bit unfortunate. Actually, no, it's 48 because of Shield Pulse, isn't it? So yeah, technically not even close. And Corrin, on the other hand, she is debuffed for attack, but she does have, what is that, 67? 67 attack. And so, how much does negating Fang do with that? That's like 20. So 87 minus 24 is 63, right? Yeah, 63. And then that gets reduced to 45 damage. So also not very close. So Legendary Corrin trolling frontline for once. Literally the only reason why I'm running HP attack as my seal, just to buff up the damage reduction and to just give her more attack to try and fish for one-shots. That's very, very simple reasoning. But here we have this team, and we're just gonna call this replay Dual Alphons out of 10, but it's really, you didn't break the Dark Shrine out of 10. And it really comes to sting them not breaking the Dark Shrine here, and they really could have, they just didn't. And so already there, this play was technically risky, because if this was the real Bolt Trap, Brave Edelgard would be at whopping 1 HP with literally no way to heal up, which would probably be a problem for their strategy, as we'll see in a second here. So they go ahead and activate the Duo skill. I'm guessing they were checking to see if they could, I don't know, kill Corrin and maybe Duma. Not sure, but they definitely could have broken the Dark Shrine a long time ago, but they never end up doing it, and they go in like so. Brave Edelgard tries to attack Legendary Corrin and fails because of the very obvious heavy trap. I don't think it should, like, she didn't have any field buffs on her. Why do this when you can attack from like here? Because you don't have any field buffs anyways, you might as well get panicked. And also, if you're here, you're not in range of Mirabilis, who's passively debuffing you by 3 to all stats. But here we see an actual meme, and that is Legendary Julia 1 round KOing Brave Edelgard with Iceberg. Literally the only reason why I'm running Iceberg, because we have 1 infantry pulse. And that really only happened because of Dark Shrine. It is debuffing by 7 defense and res, and Mirabilis is also on top of that, also debuffing, but Corrin with repositioning just keeps flinging Legendary Julia back, so we get to meme that way. And so now we have Fallen Leon, and against Legendary Corrin and Legendary Julia, guess what happens next? This was the most jank replay I've ever seen this team pull off, but this is what happens when you don't get rid of Mr. Dark Shrine. You get 1 round KO'd. So bad. I don't know how that happened, but we get the meme loop, and they don't have a chance to win at this point. The Legendary Julia doing something this week. She actually did something, and I know like this is the bottom end of Vault of Heaven, but it's like technically speaking, you know, you should if you're in Vault of Heaven, you should be decent enough that you should be winning a decent margin of your matches. But I guess technically you never really have to fight many strong teams if you do the ultra try hard strategy, which is not what I do. But with that, this is now that I look at it, it might actually be top 6k. I don't really care either way because it's Astra season. We just goof around anyways. But allegiance battles, it's getting spoopier. 369 now. We're slowly dropping. But of course we're still in the top half of top 1k, so I'm not incredibly concerned. But it is something to think about. And arena quite competitive, but nothing to where the previous records have been for cutoffs to stay. From the looks of this, it makes me think 3,840 definitely doesn't stay, but I feel like at that point the cutoff's probably like 3,844 or something. But it would be kind of weird if it was like 3,848, for example, because it's like if you already fished 4 758s, or yeah, 4 758s, why would you go for a 756 if you know what I mean? But with that, we're staying. I don't think we're staying next week because the bonus is not favorable for us. But top 1k, pretty competitive. Had to do a second run this week because the first run had too hot Garbo RNG. But yeah, here's the next arena bonus. So for us, it's probably Gunthra or Anna, neither of which are really going to score enough for us. So I think we're just going to bounce down to tier 20 and go back up pretty trivially. I'm not going to bother like building a plus 10 sugar A or something to stay. There's no real purpose for that for my shenanigans here. But let's see what's up in Mjolnir Strike, because all of a sudden it's Astra Major and we're now currently staying in with the score. And over the past few hours, we've actually gained more space in terms of ranks. I was originally like 16 ranks from dropping or something, and now it's 31 or something like that. So that's kind of interesting because last time it was Astra Major, pretty sure the cutoff was like 848, 850, probably 850. So it's kind of strange that we're staying, but if we do, I can finally see how I rank with my Dark Major team, because it is 848. So it's not amazing, but it's decent, and I want to see where that ranks because I have not been to Dark Major in tier 21 for an incredibly long time, I believe. So that'll be good for just intel purposes. But I think if we make it through here and we make it through Dark, we will have completed a full cycle of being in tier 21 for every major season, which would be cool for the memes. There's really no reason to actually try hard the mode to go for the rewards, because I'm gonna be real, the only thing that's probably valuable from this is the extra 10 dragon flowers, which is relevant, but are you gonna spend thousands of orbs so you can get 10 more dragon flowers during like 1 or 2 extra times every month? I don't know about that one. But anyways, we'll be back when the results drop in. And here we are, results. And we did manage to stay in top 6k, so that's cool. We get, I think, some more dragon flowers, which is nice. And I'm not sure what we're gonna do for this yet. We're definitely not sticking with this map because people are just gonna hit and turn on the defense tile and probably win. So I'm not sure. Definitely not this setup either. This is even worse. But it is water season, so I can either use legendary corn or like legendary chrome. I don't think using legendaries there is going to be worth it, since Milla's bonus definitely kind of encourages people to run Milla. And she's bonus as well, so even more defense. I don't think it would end very well if we tried doing that. So we don't have odd recovery or anything, which is the main way to troll people with restore nowadays, is to have odd recovery. So your restore trap is almost guaranteed to go off unless people do something like go in and snipe your unit turn 1 and leave or something. Other than that, they're pretty decent, and especially if you have some really powerful fast healers, it can be pretty tricky to deal with them, and we did run into that in one of our matches, I think, during light season, maybe 2, I don't remember. But yeah, with that, it's we're just waiting on Mjolnir Strike, and we're still staying, and we haven't really dropped too many ranks, so I think we actually are going to stay. Probably has something to do with the rotation of how people drop in and out of 21, tier 21, because it is pretty hard to actually be stable tier 21 if you don't have a plus 10 mythic in like every season. It's pretty ridiculous, but we're almost there, Kappa. The main weakness right now is definitely Astra, but once we start getting Plumeria copies, we'll definitely start going up in stonks for Mjolnir Strike as a side byproduct. But I think that's gonna be it for this episode, so thanks for watching. As always, this is Ether Dragon, and hope to see you all next time. Bye!